Hanson. I'd like to call this meeting of the County Commissioners to order. If we could all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If we could remain standing for just a moment, we'll have a moment of silence. We have a local gentleman that had an unfortunate accident a few days or a week ago, Mr. Frank Newsom. Would you just keep him and his family in our prayers? Thank you very much. We've got a couple of public notices here we have to read. It says Kent County Public Notice, Fiscal Year 2026 Proposed County Budget. Notice is hereby given that the County Commissioners of Kent County will hold a public hearing for the FY 2026 proposed budget on June the 3rd, 2025 at 6:00 p.m. in the Commissioners' hearing room of the R. Clayton Mitchell Jr. Kent County Government Center, 400 High Street, Chestertown, Maryland. The hearing is open to the public and the public is encouraged to attend. Please call the County Commissioner's office at 410-778-4600 and press 4 if you need further assistance participating in the public hearing process. Signed, the County Commissioners of Kent County, Maryland, Sandra M. Blackston and Clerk, and it was published in the Kent County News on 15/25. Then we have one more. And is Code Home Rule Bill number 4-2025, introduced by Ronald H. Fithing, President of the Board of County Commissioners for Kent County, Maryland, an act to rescind and replace Chapter 222, zoning of the public local laws of Kent County, Maryland in its entirety, renaming Chapter 222 as the Unified Development Ordinance, also known as the Kent County Land Use Ordinance, to incorporate changes recommended by the Critical Area Commission per Maryland Code, annotated Natural Resources 8-1809, and making other corrections and revisions as set forth herein. Rescind and replace the Kent County, Maryland official zoning map in its entirety to incorporate changes recommended by the Critical Area Commission per Maryland Code, Natural Resources 8-1809, and implementing one requested revision as set forth herein, and including non-codified provisions to address corrections in certain adopted maps indirectly related to the Unified Development Ordinance and zoning map. A hearing will be held on June the 10th, 2025 at 10:00 a.m. in the Commissioner's hearing room, R. Clayton Mitchell Jr., Kent County Government Center, 400 High Street, Chestertown, Maryland. The agenda for the meeting will be published online 24 hours in advance of the meeting at www.kentcounty.com/government. Citizens are encouraged to participate in the public hearing process. If you require communication assistance, please contact the County Commissioner's office at 410-778-4600 and press 4, or visit Maryland Relay at www.marylandrelay.org no later than noon on Friday, June 6, 2025. A complete copy of the proposed legislative bill is available in the Commissioner's office, 400 High Street, Chestertown, Maryland, Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., and on the county's website. By order of the County Commissioners of Kent County, Maryland, Sandra M. Blackston, Clerk, and it was published in the Kent County News on 5/15/25 and 5/22/25. Then we have some consent items. We have our regular session minutes dated May the 13th, 2025. We have our liquor minutes May the 13th, 2025. And we have our public hearing minutes dated May 13th, 2025. We have Dan Matson, Director of Public Works, Wharton Well 5 repair contract. Dan Matson, Director of Public Works, transfer of funds from the Road Division. Pete Landon, Director, Office of Emergency Services, Chesapeake College Clinical Rotation Agreement. Ms. Shelley Neal Edwards, Director of Social Services Advisory Board recommendation. And the Kent County Republican Central Committee wants to do a raffle only on June the 12th, 2025. Any questions, gentlemen?
No, sir.
If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve all 8 of the consent items as presented.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. One of our appointments is Ms. Katie Dilley, Executive Director of Midshore Behavioral Health Incorporated, with an annual update and FY 2026 letter of agreement. You want to come forward and introduce your guests? And welcome to Kent County.
Thank you. So I think Lisa's going to be sitting down and I'll be up here.
All right.
So we're teaming up.
Keys here, microphone's here.
Okay. Great. Well, good evening. Thank you for having us. My name is Katie Dilley, and I have the pleasure of serving as the Chief Executive Officer at Midshore Behavioral Health, your regional core service agency, and then for Kent County, we serve as your local behavioral health authority in partnership with the Kent County Health Department. And with me this evening is Lisa Short. I'll have Lisa introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Lisa Short. I'm the Adult Population Supervisor and SOAR Lead for Midshore Behavioral Health.
Well, welcome tonight.
Thank you.
And thank you for having us. So we are here this evening for our annual sort of updates and highlights from our organization. But we also are here to request your ongoing support to serve as your core service agency and local behavioral health authority for the county as we enter FY26. Just a moment to kind of reflect on the significance of why we're here during the month of May. It is Mental Health Awareness Month, so that's why Lisa and I are sporting our green this evening in acknowledgement of Mental Health Awareness Month. Just a little history, Mental Health Awareness Month has actually been celebrated since 1949, which is really significant. And Midshore Behavioral Health is actually getting ready to celebrate our 33rd anniversary of being incorporated as a regional core service agency on June 8th. So we're excited to celebrate our upcoming anniversary. This evening, for those of you in the room, you don't have a copy of this, but we have offered a packet of a comprehensive overview of all of our programs that we support, as well as lots of detailed highlights that are specific to our organization, as well as to Kent County specifically. But Lisa and I are going to move through just a handful of those for you all to get a flavor of some of our highlights from this past fiscal year. And certainly if you have questions, we'd be happy to receive those as well. So I'm going to start us off with some Midshore Behavioral Health highlights. I'm sure as we were intentional with trying to bring some pictures into our presentation that are Kent County specific, so you'll see some familiar faces throughout the presentation. So one of our big partnerships and highlights is since fiscal year 21, Midshore Behavioral Health, serving as the regional core service agency for the 5 counties, has worked intentionally to do all of our annual planning with the 5 health departments in the region. So we include each health department in our most recently in our FY26 annual plan, and we meet routinely when there are systems changes, any kind of concerns going on in the community. We are very transparent with our role and vice versa with the health department work in each of the counties. So we refer to ourselves as our Midshore Planning Collaborative. Midshore is well-known for serving the community with extending lots of different work groups specific to either age group, or recently we've developed, for example, we have an autism work group. That's a new group that we're supporting out of Midshore. We also have recently developed a peer work group that is supporting our peer support specialists that are serving the region. And of course, we have our roundtable on homelessness, which I'm sure you've heard quite a bit about. We recognize all of our homeless partnerships and interested community members in coming together several times over the course of the month to address the homeless needs. And those are just a couple examples of some of our networks that we support. We also support our Eastern Shore Behavioral Health Coalition, which is a 9-county group that's comprised of leaders in the local behavioral health space, community behavioral health providers, interested and invested community members, and really anyone who's interested in advocating for the behavioral health needs of the Eastern Shore. We convene formally during legislative session to identify our priorities to highlight to our Eastern Shore delegation during session. But we recognize the importance, especially right now with so many things happening in the climate. We're going to be convening more routinely to try to support one another as we anticipate some changes potentially coming down. So we had the opportunity to offer a presentation on the 18th of March. Of course, one of the things that we've continued to include in our work of that group is the advocacy for the sustainability of the A.F. Whitsitt Center and all the services that go on there. We have recently also had the opportunity to incorporate a statewide initiative as an organization that is focusing on how we can become a more trauma-informed organization. So that's our Healing Systems Learning Collaborative. We have joined in that partnership with several state organizations, leadership out of Bowie University, the Behavioral Health Administration, and the University of Maryland School of Psychiatry to really guide us on that journey as an organization, and also to be working down the road with our partner provider organizations to ensure that they're really providing trauma-informed care in their practice, not only in how they're serving their clients, but also how they're working together as an organization. So we've made that a real priority at Midshore, most recently in the last 2 years. We continue to also host our Bay Bridge partnership that has grown to become a statewide group. It was born in August of 2020, right in the thick of the pandemic. Most recently, we have included our partners in Baltimore County and Baltimore City following the incident with the bridge collapse there. We welcomed the leadership in the crisis response space as well as leaders in the community to join in our group as we address just how we meet the needs of any sort of crisis or major critical incident that's happening in the state. So we're really proud of that work. Let's see. One thing that I really wanted to draw to your attention, we don't often talk about the work that we're doing out of our continuum of care space or even really highlight as much as we should in this presentation, the work that we do to support our homeless services in the community. I know Kent County has been extremely active in organizing some more Kent-specific homeless advocacy initiatives for our homeless population, and we are working a lot more closely with some leadership here in the county to support those needs and the desire to advocate for expanded services here in the county. But one thing that we are kicking off, you often think of homeless services coming into a priority space mostly in the colder months out of the year. This year, through the leadership of one of our team members, we have kicked off an initiative that will be going throughout the course of the summer called the Defeat the Heat initiative So we're going to be working with providers in the community to offer hydration stations and cooling centers throughout all 5 counties. So we'd certainly be happy to come and do a special presentation to highlight the outcomes of that initiative, which I think will be really great. Let's see. I know Lisa's going to be talking about several things, county-specific. One thing I did want to point out that's on our programs list is we do have our assisted living state initiative, but in the last couple of years, we've also included a state hospital discharge initiative to prioritize individuals that are really not appropriate to reside and receive care in our state hospital systems. Several individuals have been in there for 20, 25 years, and just really need to be out in a different community place setting. So we've been able to place in the past year, I think the number as of last Tuesday was 36 individuals out of the state hospital systems, not just here on the Eastern Shore, but across the state, into assisted living levels of care that are 100% funded by grant dollars that the state is procuring through Midshore. They get additional case management. We really monitor their progress and their success outside of the institutional setting. And that's really been a neat, unique program that we've just brought on within the last year and a half. So we're looking forward to supporting that in the coming year. And I'll stop there, and I'm going to transition over to Lisa. She's going to give a few programmatic highlights that are broad span for the whole organization, and then talk about some additional Kent County highlights.
So Midshore manages the Midshore Opioid Response Grant, which we call SOAR. And out of that, we fund 12 crisis beds at the AF Whitsett Center, which we're thankful that we can continue to fund that. We also have the Adolescent Clubhouse site at Mary's Dream Alliance, where we serve adolescents and transitional age youth for what they call Club Fear, which is Face Everything and Rise. And it's a really successful, growing program. And let's see, in FY24 and FY25, Midshore partnered with Kent County's Sheriff's Department here in Chestertown and Chestertown Police and Chestertown Library to distribute 273 gun locks to the community as part of a suicide prevention gun lock initiative. And the initiative is called Stop, Think, and Call, and it was developed to support awareness of suicide prevention in our community. In addition to that, we do have our Midshore Suicide our Suicide Coalition that is kind of like a 2-part grant, and that is, we started that last year. It is active. We are steadily recruiting individuals across the Midshore, and we encourage community members, providers, agencies, individuals like yourself to be part of that, to represent your community. So reach out if you'd like to be part of that. We do have a Stay Alive event coming with Kevin Hines, and it's going to be held in Dorchester County. It's a big event for all of the community. We're holding it at the school, so hopefully it's a very large and attended event for suicide awareness. In FY24 and FY25, Midshore Behavioral Health provided naloxone training to Mary's Dream Alliance staff. And they are working on getting permission slips for families who desire to have their youth trained in use of naloxone. So it's proven that it helps be preventative. In FY25, Midshore Behavioral Health collaborated with Recovery in Motion, which we call RIM, to provide wound care and safer sex kits to the community. And the wound care and safer sex kits are part of a harm reduction model, which meets people where they are and provides materials to ensure a greater measure of safety among people who use drugs. Through the Consortium of Coordinated Community Supports, which is part of the Maryland Blueprint for Schools, we have a grant that allows us to act as the hub pilot for 2 providers in Kent County that have successfully provided services to over 775 students and their families in the 5 Kent County public schools as of March 1st. And next year, we'll be a full coordinated community support partner in Kent County. And the last thing I wanted to add is, so we recently, this fiscal year, we transitioned to a new targeted case management agency, and it allows more opportunities because they have locations in every Midshore County. So here in Kent County, they actually have a physical location, what hopefully will help increase services in target case management.
And I just want to, thank you, Lisa. I just want to highlight again our, just in this past fiscal year, as of July 1, 2024, we entered into that formal agreement with the Kent County Health Department to serve as your local behavioral health authority. And through that, we have kicked off an initiative that supports recruitment of peer support specialists. They're employed by Midshore Behavioral Health, but they fully report to the Kent County Health Department 5 days a week. So we have 2 full-time team members that have joined us, and they've been with us almost a year. I think July 8th is their 1-year anniversary with Midshore Behavioral Health, and that's been a really fantastic way to support our recruitment and then just collaboration across organizations. So we're going to highlight just quickly just a couple of our standing initiatives that we're known for in the community. Of course, we're out and about quite a bit at outreach events, fairs, community events, resource fairs, pride festivals. We really do our best to try to make it to as much as we possibly can. This year, we were able to, we've just in the past few months kicked off a special initiative through our crisis intercept mapping, which is specifically targeting looking at services that are meeting the needs of our veteran population and those that have served in the military space. So we're really excited to be a part of that. That's a mapping process that's being supported across the state. Different jurisdictions have moved through this process. We convened a group of interested and invested partners and providers in this process, and we're anticipating continuing to look at how we're really addressing the needs of our veterans and serving them to the best that we can in our behavioral health space. So that's a really neat initiative that we've been able to kick off this year. Of course, we continue to do work in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space. One of the things that came out of that and has continued or has been very successful is our Beyond Inclusion Conference, which is highlighted on our next slide. This past February, we were able to host our 2nd annual Beyond Inclusion Conference, and the theme this year was Building Bridges and Breaking Down Barriers. That is something that we're really looking forward to continuing to support, as well as just looking at our work internally and externally with addressing and undoing racism to the extent that we can and addressing that in our provider network. Our sequential intercept mapping is actually something we've been doing. We're coming up on our 12th annual conference that will be held at the beginning of November. For those that aren't familiar, a sequential intercept mapping process breaks down how individuals move through the criminal justice system from the community into detention and then reintegrated back out into the community. The opportunity there is to look at how we can create a diversion or real more opportunities to meet people where they are in the community so they don't end up in criminally justice involved. And we're actually working with Judge Nunn here in Kent County and Judge Knight in Queen Anne's County with considering some opportunities where we could look at resources that are available in the community currently to potentially pilot a diversion initiative with supporting individuals in both of those counties as just a small pilot in partnership with the Whitsitt Center on how we can be addressing mental health needs of individuals that end up in detention. We have briefed the administration on this, and we're looking at ways that we can potentially make this an opportunity and a reality to come up with something a little bit outside of traditional treatment for folks that are justice involved. We're actually going to be the next 2 days convening at a statewide summit where this sequential intercept model is being used in Maryland now to look at the whole state. So they're just now rolling up their sleeves to look at this and apply it to the whole state, where we've been doing this now going on almost 12 years. So we'll actually be presenting on the model tomorrow and how it's worked really well for the Midshore. So that's exciting. And Judge Nunn will be there. So he's always a staunch advocate, and we appreciate his support. Our Across the Lifespan Conference, we just hosted our 14th annual with a focus on wellness promotion and prevention here at the end of April. And our Going Purple Together event is something we have done now for several years. 2 years ago, we hosted it here in Kent County. This coming September, on September 27th, we will be hosting it in Queen Anne's. We rotate counties, but it's all 5 counties coming together to do the planning for an event for the whole region. So I know Kent County does your color run, which we're a part of that process as well, but this is our regional event for Going Purple during Recovery Month in September. So these are just a couple pictures highlighting some of the good work we've done during that time. A couple other things we've been up in Kent County involved with, just kind of highlighting some of the good work of our team out in the community. We don't normally highlight pictures, and this year we're like, we really want to bring some more life into the presentation, and so you guys can see us out and about. So just highlighting a couple of things we've been involved with recently. This is a snapshot of our fiscal budget. As we don't have FY26 listed here. This is our 21 through 25 actual budget. And of course, 26, I want to say there's a little bit of reduction, of course, and then there's a lot of things that are question marks right now. So we had a lot of questions that came up last week in another county presentation, and really the uncertainty of the federal climate, we are hoping will be a limited impact to the grant funding that we receive at Midshore that is federal in nature, but we don't know. And we're all sort of just awaiting what that will look like. We do receive about 50% of our funding for programming that goes into the community is federal. So significant. Now I'm going to turn it back over to Lisa. We wanted to you can't get away from Midshore without a little data before we close it out. So this is just a snapshot of our individuals that are being served in our public behavioral health space to kind of bring some numbers to light.
So as Katie said, this is showing our public behavioral health system, the consumers served in the Midshore region, breaking it out by county. It is also broken out by mental health services and substance use services. So to note, Kent County had 1,140 individuals served for mental health services in FY24, which is 6% of the population. And then the FY24 for substance use, Kent County served 544 individuals, which is 3% of the population. And then this is just a utilization by service area. So for mental health, just to note, the highest service uses is outpatient services with 94%, and psychiatric rehabilitation, which you might often hear as PRP, is 17%. And on the substance use side, the highest usage is labs at 74% and outpatient services at 63%.
And that brings us to the close. So thank you for having us this evening and for your ongoing support, and we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Have any questions, gentlemen?
No, sir.
Well, thank you very much for coming in and giving us an update.
Absolutely.
I just have one question.
Sure.
First, I want to thank you all for what you do for our community.
Absolutely.
And the homeless situation here in the county, do you have any data that you would be willing to share with us
Absolutely.
to let us know what that looks like?
Sure. We actually,
Compared to
ironically.
other counties?
Yeah, I have it for other counties, and I can provide that for you tomorrow in a follow-up, and we can, happily, you all are welcome to share it publicly. It's public data. So we do annually perform what's called a point-in-time count, and that's something that's done nationally. So through the Housing and Urban Development Department, it is a requirement for jurisdictions that receive funding through HUD that support homeless services and preventative service funding to perform what's called a point-in-time count. And that's done on the same day every year for the entire country. So anywhere you would be on that day, it usually falls at the end of January, is when organizations are out in the community trying to get a real-time count of individuals that are actually homeless. So there's, the definition of homelessness is really not someone that is just staying at a friend's house on a couch, trying to, go through different friends or families or support networks, but truly unhoused, unsheltered individuals. So there's, that definition is what we're seeking, individuals that are willing to identify and participate in the surveying process. So it can present as challenging because finding individuals that are actually living in encampments and real homeless situations, as well as there's an element of some individuals don't necessarily want to disclose or participate in the process. We do partner with community organizations, Department of Social Services, the Health Department, all of our providers of behavioral health services in the community, churches, libraries. We get everybody involved to participate in the surveying and helping us identify those individuals. And that number actually will benchmark how much funding is allocated from HUD to come down annually. So it's sort of a requirement to continue to receive funds, and then it can also alter the allocation that's given. Our numbers this year, we were very successful in connecting with more individuals, so that's positive. And I can get you that county-specific data, so you have that.
I would really be interested in the families that have school-aged children that are considered homeless,
Absolutely.
and exactly how many of those we have.
Sure. And we have information through our work with our new continuum, or consortium on coordinated supports. We are gathering a lot more information that's school-based, so we can get you the school number as well. Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
And Katie, you're looking for a motion for acceptance and signature of the
Letter of
FY
agreement.
'26 letter of
Yes,
agreement.
thank you.
So I would like to make a motion to accept and sign the FY 2026 letter of agreement with Midshore Behavioral Health Incorporated as presented.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you. Thank you,
And
gentlemen.
thanks again for coming in.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us. It's always a
You're welcome.
pleasure.
Next up, we have from Greenville Consulting Group with the end of the session wrap-up is, I think, Mr. Jonathan. How you doing?
Yes, sir. Great. How are y'all?
Good. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
Things slowed up a little bit now that session's over?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
You can breathe again.
Yeah, we breathe again, but we're right back at it, as you know, right? It doesn't.
I hope so.
It doesn't stop. Most people think
Don't
it stops
stop.
after that
No,
90-day
don't stop.
session.
You didn't bring a check with you, did you?
No, but I got some good news, and I think you know about it. Again, Jonathan Carpenter, Greenville, Leslie and Ivan Sender, Wishes. Leslie's actually handling another presentation, so it's divide and conquer tonight, and I'm the man that wanted to come home to the Eastern Shore, right?
There you go.
So we had a great session, all things considered. I just want to start off by saying we appreciate it. I think we say it every time we see you because we really mean it. It's a pleasure to be your eyes and ears in Annapolis. And again, we humbly say thank you for that opportunity. We really appreciate it.
We want to thank you as well. We
Yes, sir.
appreciate the job you do for us. We know it's not easy, especially during these times, but it's nice to have you over there. And personally, I just soon have a stick in my eye as to have to go over there. So knowing you're over there and you can answer some questions, and we really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. So as we said at the beginning of session, prior to session, we knew it was going to be all about the budget, right? It was a major budget deficit, structural deficit they were looking at in December of '24. Major deficit. They were looking at roughly $3 billion structural deficit, and how were they going to make that up? That was in December of '24. So we started off the budget started off the year with that kind of budget, and we ended the year with a $67 billion budget that was balanced. It was mandated that it is balanced by law, and they got it done. The ways in which they had it done, and I want to talk about some of these highlights, right, because that's the important piece. The devil's in the details, as you know. But there were a slew of kind of like new taxes, some things that we're going to keep an eye on. There's something called a 3% IT tax that kind of was passed in the waning days that caught a lot of people off guard. The business sector tried to push back, but we think it's very important to the municipalities. We want to know, what does that mean? And so we've reached out to the comptroller's office to try to get some presentations for the various municipalities and counties we represent, because we need to know, how is that 3% tax going to be implemented? I'll be in full disclosure. I think they passed this and they had no idea how it's going to be implemented, because we've been, since session has ended, still waiting for some details. We wait with bated breath because the private sector is also saying, how is this going to work? The Googles of the world, et cetera. Some of our providers in terms of the cable TV, et cetera. This is digital IT services. Does that affect this? So we will be keeping an eye on this 3% IT tax, looking for how is this to be implemented and what does it mean. And we will make sure we bring that to you and get that presentation to you as soon as we get the details, but very important.
I think you're absolutely right in saying that they're not sure what this is going to do, and that's why everybody's kind of thinking there's going to be another session, an early session this year. I don't know.
So I'm glad you brought that up, Commissioner. There is a provision in the budget that was passed this year based on what the federal government also does. Because I think in our previous presentation, we heard about the federal spending and what does that mean, and the support and the aid that comes from the federal government. So there is a provision in the budget that was passed that says that they must go back into session depending on how it affects the overall budget. So we will be keeping an eye on that. And we may very well see them going back into session this fall to deal with the budget and the outcomes of the federal government, and what cuts may be made. Again, we talked about this prior to, because they brought in a consultant, one of the big firms prior to session, to help deal with the possible cuts. So those cuts still loom as we speak right now. So that provision in that session may occur, and we will let you know as soon as we know something.
Question, is the IT tax, is that set to take place July 1st or October 1st? Or has there been no dates?
Originally, they were saying July 1st.
You'll plan to implement it?
Exactly. So again, we're pushing hard, but we don't know how they're going to implement that July 1st, because they can't even tell us. We haven't gotten, we've requested, we're almost 4 months out, and we still don't know. So I'll keep an eye on that and let you know. Absolutely. Another tax, there was like a 5%, $5 tire tax. I always tell folks, when they talk about there were no income tax increases, however, you still got increase. This is what you do. You get it. You know. But this $5 tire tax was a big thing, and it's something to keep an eye on as a consumer and as you represent your constituents. So those are some of the things that they're doing. Also, the technology tax I talked about. They created a new income tax on some new income tax brackets on higher earners. I think at $100,000 and above and $500,000 and above. Again, something to keep an eye on, because these are income tax increases, why they say they did not. These are some of the ways they made up for that $2.95 billion structural deficit moving forward. So we'll keep an eye on it. Again, it did pass, the budget did pass. One of the big spending priorities, again, something that we deal with, is the blueprint. The governor had took out, I think, was $500 million for various cuts within that blueprint, and the legislature restored those cuts. Still, you have counties across this state standing and banding together saying this is an unfunded mandate on us because we have to pass this down. These are things we cannot afford to do. but they continue to fund this blueprint at the levels that are really an unfunded mandate on our counties and our municipalities. So we continue to push back. Again, but that blueprint was a big spending item, and they did restore all of the funding for that K through 12 blueprint funding, a major piece. And again, we continue to push back. And again, to the governor's credit, he did make cuts saying we have to do something. And they restored those cuts. But again, it was the tax increases and some other things is how they made up the budget shortfall.
This coming year will be, Eric, we've been able to skirt along, hadn't affected us too much in the past, but this coming year is when we really start being hit by it. The next year, our next budget session.
And I continue to tell folks, are they just putting a Band-Aid over things that really are not taking care of this structural deficit? So we will continue to keep an eye on and report back to you as we see this progress go forward and what things they do implement.
Very good.
That with the budget, it got passed, they put money in the rainy day fund. There was a projected, this budget was supposed to be, the projected shortfall was supposed to be $6 billion by 2030. Because of the things that they did, they're projecting that they reduced that all the way to $3 billion. So they cut it in half by 2030. So again, what does the future look like? We don't know. I think that, again, the things that were done in terms of tax increases and things are things that are Band-Aids, and I'm not sure that it really takes care of structural budget, okay? But again, we'll continue to report back to you. That's the budget. It was a session in terms of bills, and thank you again, Shelley, for your outreach and for you coming down and fighting with us. Again, we always tell you, I know coming across that bridge is an experience, right?
Challenge, put it that way.
It's an experience, but again, it helps. Thank you. Working on the funding for the middle school, it was indeed a fight. I can show you the text messages. We're up until the last evening where they asked us to, can you call off the Greenville folks? We're going to work this out and find a resolution. And so we were happy to report that there was money put in for some maintenance this year, but this commitment of $4 million in the next 2 years, each year, $4 million in 26 and 27. So we look forward to holding them to that. And that budget language is in the budget. That's the big difference. It is in the budget, and it states, versus the allocation formula bill we worked on, much different beast, something that we really opposed. And so this is a straightforward, we could be looking at, which they say is $8 million in the subsequent years in total. So that's a very big win. We were happy to work on that, happy to walk away, happy to leave the State House alone because we were knocking on those doors because they assured us that they were going to make a commitment this year, and they did do it. So I'm happy to report that out.
Jonathan, I have a quick question about the $150,000 for the middle school maintenance. Do we know how that is going to be received? Does that go directly to the schools? Do they need to invoice for it? Does it come to us to send to them? Do we know the answer to that?
From what I was told, it's almost like an LBI. I will get the exact answer, whereas it would be reimbursed, but I will look into if it goes directly. I've been in contact with Dr. McComas also.
Okay, great, thank you.
And one other question about the $8 million you're talking about for 1 year and for the next, I think is the way it's stated.
Yes.
And that's for a new middle school. Is there a use it or lose it deadline or is that, let's say that we weren't able to do it this year or next year, would that money still be there?
Good question. Something we'll look into.
Okay.
Because
That's
again,
fine. Look,
it's in that budget for FY '26 and FY '27. And again, you know what I'm going to say. We need to make every effort to take advantage of that.
It would be good to know how long we've got
That's
to
right.
make up our
Absolutely.
mind to be able to use it and to try to put it in our planning.
And typically in those budget cycles with the state, you have 3 to 5 years before they actually go at the funds and can reallocate them. So that is typically how it's done. So for sure, you still have that 3 to 5 year window.
Well, if you could get that answer for us, that'd
Absolutely.
be helpful too.
Yes, absolutely. A couple other bills that we fought hard against. Again, some of these bills, you have our report, but we've worked closely with MML and others. There was a bill that was put in that would require anybody that you hired that dealt with the finances, that they would have certain credentials and education. Again, you may have somebody that's been dealing with the budget 20 years, and they've done a great job. Now, all of a sudden, there would be new mandates put on the folks that were hired and require them to have additional education up to a master's level, et cetera. Of course, municipalities and counties, this was not publicized, it wasn't a big thing, but we brought it out, and they said, this is crazy. It's going to, again, put mandates on us, and it would, of course, hire folks at a higher level, which would cost you more. And so we were able to beat that back. So we're happy to do that. That was a big win for us across the state and hopefully in this county. Also, there was legislation in terms of any annexation that was done, that you could not do annexation outside of your legislative districts. Made absolutely no sense. Because again, most annexation occurs outside of your legislative district.
Right.
But there was some personal stuff going on. We found out with a couple of municipalities, and it was just the wrong way to handle it. And so we were able to beat that down. So again, there were things like that. We were happy to say, if Leslie was here, she'd be smiling because we had fun beating things down this year and beating them back. So it brought us joy. But again, it was our job to protect what is the best thing for the counties and municipalities. So that's most of what I wanted to talk about tonight, was that budget and those things that we were able to defeat. Again, in the interim, we'll be coming back and talking about priorities. Talking about, again, that commitment to the middle school, and that funding is very important. Again, it is budget language, but we have to make them execute. So we will be back. Again, I hope you continue to read our reports. One of the things we pride ourselves on is our communication and making sure you're educated as to what's going on in Annapolis and around the state. So we really take pride in that. And again, we look forward to working with you continually.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Question, the solar bill was on the governor's desk. Where is it? Has he done anything with that?
I believe that the solar piece is moving forward.
He hasn't signed it as of yet, though, correct?
I believe it has been signed, yes. It was a priority because I think, I'll say offline, I'll talk to you about the solar piece, but we just look at the different folks that are involved in solar, and it might give you an idea of.
Was this
I was there.
Did this remove, the law currently had been that PSC has to give due consideration to local zoning. Did this piece of legislation remove that due consideration piece? Or do you know?
I'm not sure that it removed
I
it.
think it did.
Because I think I had heard that the due consideration got removed. I heard that someplace. I didn't realize that till recently, which means Public Service Commission, if that's correct, no longer has to take into account what the county's position is.
That's correct.
Or what the county zoning is.
That absolutely happened because that's part of what was going on in the Ocean City fight. Some things going on with the wind, same thing. They just totally, I guess, kind of didn't take consideration what the local folks were saying, and they continue on with that project. So it would not surprise me, but I will give you a definitive answer, but.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I don't have anything else, Jonathan, but I do want to say that, when we were first interviewing lobbyists, it was the first time that Kent County had hired a lobbyist, and, we didn't know anybody's name or anything. I just want to say, and luck of the draw, we got you guys, because it's been a pleasure for me, and I'm saying that because I want the county, the people that are listening to know that how easy you guys are to work with and how hard. I've witnessed it. I've witnessed how hard you guys work for us in Annapolis, so.
Sincerely,
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And it comes from all of us. We all agree.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We're proud to have you to work with, and you're our eyes and ears over there.
Yes, sir.
And we look forward to next year with you.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Appreciate all
Thank
of
you.
it. Thank you.
Okay, Tom, you got When I know we got to go into legislative session, you want to?
Correct.
Anything you want to talk about
I
before
do.
that?
Real fast. You have one bill before you. It's for third reading, which means this is where you would vote on the bill. When you go into legislative session, your options are to pass the bill as drafted, reject the bill, or to pass it as amended. And my understanding is that commissioners have offered some written amendments that Mr. Mackey's staff has prepared, and those amendments are in writing, which is required by the code. So if you wish to go forward with that, when you go into legislative session, the motion would be to pass as amended. And Mr. Mackey and Mrs. Gerber are here in the event you have any questions for them when you're in legislative session.
Should they come up and explain these amendments or?
That would be good for the benefit of the people listening and the audience. I think that would be appropriate if we could do that. So first, entertain a motion to go into legislative session, and then we can have Mr. Mackey present, and then you would entertain a motion on the bill.
I'll make a motion that we go into legislative session.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to go in legislative session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Welcome, Bill.
Thank you.
Good evening to you.
I know we've summarized the nature of the bill previously. The two amendments, the first one is the amendment that we discussed at the meeting last time, which is to strike two words, "and nutrient," so that there's only a waste management plan. That's a very simple amendment, bottom of page 3. And then one of the colleagues had some concerns about the licensure moving forward after the 5 years. So as proposed, there was a 5-year limitation to required renewals and review. So the amendment, and I think it's page 5, but I don't have it, would remove the 5-year limitation and allow this body, when it's acting as the licensing board, to call back any applicant really at any time when if there's any of the conditions, requirements, or standards are not being followed. So if there's the way the article is set up, there's a 1-year probationary period. At any time, they can, an applicant can be called back for you all to restudy or review their license, and there's a provision for revoking a license. What this change does is it removes the 5-year limitation, so that is sort of, the probationary period is still 12 months, but the annual review and the possibility at any time to call a licensee back for review and possible revocation if standards, requirements, and conditions are not being met, that is the change.
And Mr. Mackey, in the draft, the
Yes, sir.
language that is going to be removed through amendment is stricken through. And then the language that was added is underlined.
Yes, sir.
Is that correct, just for following along? And just to quickly summarize, the first change, the removal of "and nutrient," was as the result of testimony taken from a member of the public during the public hearing.
Yes, sir.
And the second amendment was at the request of a commissioner.
Yes, sir.
So you can pass it as amended, and you can accept one amendment, both amendments, or none of the amendments. It's up to you as
As
commissioners.
the applicant, shall we hear from them as well, if they had anything to add, or?
Well, we've already had the public hearing. They're not required to speak, and technically, they're not the applicant, but they're the proponents
yeah,
of this. But certainly, if you, in your discretion, if you would like to hear from them as to their position with respect to the amendments, you certainly can do that, but you're not required to.
I got you. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Would you like to say, anything you'd like to say before we move forward with this?
Just real quick, Genevieve McFarland on behalf of Waikamago Hunt Club. It appears that the language really just gets rid of that limit of 5 years of submitting the annual letter, and we're okay with that. I, just want to offer support and keep things moving forward.
Thank you very much. Any questions, gentlemen? Comments? Questions?
I do have some comments.
Okay.
This week, there were some I received some phone calls in regards to where the hounds are being kept now. And they were complaints from neighbors. And I called a couple of more neighbors, and those neighbors were all aware of the hounds being there. And they were, I gotta say, nobody was happy about it. But I went and visited Eden, where the hounds are. And I was at the site. And I talked to her about the complaints that had come to me. And then I did, again, solicit a couple of other phone calls myself to the neighbors. And Eden explained to me about how these hounds were just relocated and how their world was turned upside down. It makes total sense. I mean, it does. And the facility that she is, that they're going to put the hounds is completely different than where they're at. So I'm in hopes that I am, this has been a difficult process for me because I've been lobbied very hard on both sides. And I want Eden to be successful, I do. But I also, and in full disclosure, I have a boathouse and my pier is right across the creek, I don't know, 1,000 yards or so from this facility. So in full disclosure, on a south wind, I am personally going to be as bothered if those hounds are barking. I am personally going to be as bothered as anybody in this community. And I don't want to be bothered. I have full disclosure. I do not want, I mean, that is my little happy spot. That is what I bought and paid for. And I don't want to be bothered. And I don't want the neighbors in the community that is adjoining this place. I don't want their quality of life to be diminished. So I guess what I'm saying is that I'm willing, personally, I'm willing to give this hunt club and Eden a chance to prove herself to the neighbors and to the community, and I am pulling for you. It's going to be a tough job, particularly, I mean, you know, this time of year, everybody that has a house is trying to enjoy the outside because of the weather, and you know, and it's no fault of these hounds have been bred for thousands of years to do one thing, and that's bark. That is what they've been bred to do. But I did want to make sure that there was meat on this bone, so to speak, for the neighbors and the community, so that if it does disrupt, and I'm sure Eden has such good neighbors, she really does, and they think the world of you, sweetheart, they do. So much so that I mean, several of the neighbors came to me and said, I don't want this, but I don't want to tell Eden no. You tell her no. Well, here I am, and I don't want to tell you no either. So, in my opinion, I am willing to give her a chance, and it's going to be, I hope it's not an uphill battle, but part of the reason for me rambling on about this is I'm asking anybody who's listening, I'm hoping she can do it. I really am. But it's not going to happen overnight. It's not. I mean, with her explanation of these dogs, it's, like people, I mean, when their lives get disrupted, it's going to take, I don't know, you know better than me, I know, a month or two, or whatever it is, for those dogs to figure out, this is my new home, to get used to my boat starting up at 5 o'clock in the morning. You know, the geese, the ducks, the gunshots, or whatever the case may be. So I guess I'm just, you know, just asking the public, I'm not saying don't document whatever you want to document, and they can call me anytime if they have my number. And I'm sure Eden will take the phone call. But, you know, I just think that we're not going to be able to pass judgment, right? Even though we have a 12-month probationary period, you know, I think it's going to take, you know, it's going to take several months before these dogs get acclimated to their new home. So,
Very good.
I just kind of have a question for Tom. With the amendments that have been proposed, if there is a nuisance issue that arises, they will be required to come in and we can have a discussion on how we can maybe resolve the issue. And if it's not resolved, then there's a revocation process. Is that right?
I think that was already in there. That wasn't affected by these amendments.
Right.
But the answer to your question is yes, and that was one of the considerations that the commissioners had, and Mr. Mackey incorporated those into the regulations. So the answer to your question, the simple answer is yes.
I just want to echo a little bit of what Commissioner Nickerson said. I had also heard that the animals had been moved and the location where they were being kept. I did not take the time to come down and talk to you about it. I talked to folks over the phone. And I explained to them that this is probably just going to be short-term. And, you know, anytime that you upset the apple cart with people or pets or whatever, that there is a time period where they have to get familiarized and get used to their surroundings. I've also been out to Eden's place and actually looked at where this is going to be located. I think the location where this is proposed to be is going to be totally different than the location where they are now. Yeah, I mean, they're going to see a deer, they're going to see or hear Albert's boat start up or some other boats or whatever, or somebody shooting geese or ducks or deer or whatever, but they're not going to be seeing probably people because they're kind of down in a swell, which I think will also help with the sound and depending on the wind and all that. But I feel that the amended option is probably the best way for the county to go until we get this history of how it's going to go for everybody. I know in talking to you previously that you are committed to being a good neighbor. And Albert's right. A lot of the neighbors didn't want to speak publicly, you know, but they didn't hesitate to call. You know, which is fine. So, Ronnie, do you have anything else?
No, I'm good.
You know, I appreciate everything.
You all have covered it as well.
I think you went above and beyond to try to work this situation out, okay? So, and I wish you nothing but the best, and I hope we don't have to have you come back in, but if we do, we can talk about it and come up with a solution maybe that will resolve the issue if there is a nuisance. So having said that, I'd like to make a motion to adopt Code and Home Rule Bill 3-2025 Fox Hunting Club Dog Kennels License Process as amended.
To clarify, which amendment or both amendments?
Right.
I have option 2 here.
Okay, so option 2 is the
Let me
amendment
scroll
to
down.
6418. The other amendment was to 6414, and it simply removes the 2 words "and nutrient."
So it would be both amendments.
They
So
would be
both
both
amendments.
So you want
Think
me
for
to
the
do
record
it
it's
again?
clear.
No,
Make it
just
clear?
as long as I asked for the clarification and you
Okay.
confirmed
I forgot
as
about the
amended.
nutrients,
Both amendments, right?
Both amendments,
Okay.
yes.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Now you would entertain a motion to go out
Yeah,
of
we'll
legislation.
go back into.
Make a motion to go back into open session.
Got a motion to go back into open session. We got a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. We are now back in open session.
Your next item is related to the previous item.
It's in house to take care of.
Good evening again.
Good evening, Bill.
This item is related to the item you just passed. The Article 2 establishes the ability for this board to set fees for the process. There is a public notice requirement where a newspaper advertisement will be placed. The resolution sets that fee. I'm suggesting $100. About 2 budgets ago, our department very much simplified our advertisements to save money. So our ads for planning commission meetings when they're required and Board of Zoning Appeals are very simple. They refer to people to a website, and we're averaging about $70 an ad. So I'm assuming that this ad, we're going to want to have a little more information. It's a new process, give people, and so I'm assuming maybe $100. And as with all our fees don't cover staff costs. We're just trying to cover hard costs.
Right,
So that's the proposal before you.
okay. We need to put that in form of a motion.
Right.
Yes, so,
Any other questions?
There's a
Yes.
resolution that's been prepared. So what you would do, the motion would be to adopt Resolution 2025-04. Resolution is set a fee for applicants related to appearances before the Fox Hunting Club Dog Kennels Licensing Board for the public review of applications submitted for consideration by the licensing board. So you would entertain a motion to approve and adopt that resolution.
Before we go there, though, you have any one changes, or, I mean, if
No,
not, I'll
the-
entertain a
the,
motion.
The vote that we just had, the amendment doesn't have anything to do with the resolution.
No, this simply sets the licensing fee.
correct.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 2025-04 to set the fees related to the Fox Hunting Club Dog Kennels Licensing Board.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Jim Miller, Human Resources Director.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This is actually a continuation of an item that we brought forth to you several meetings ago to fill a position for the code enforcement officer. At the time, the board was in agreement that the presented candidate was qualified. However, we had to postpone the final vote on making a conditional offer until the candidate had served his 45 days post-retirement. That time has now been served, and we're back before you to ask for permission for a motion to approve the conditional offer.
Okay, any questions?
No.
If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to extend a conditional offer of employment to the recommended candidate.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you,
Thank you.
gentlemen.
Shelley, you got some items here?
I do, but before I go, Miss Jill Coleman is here to give us a departmental update with the Parks and Recreation Department.
Oh. Thank you. Very good.
You skipped.
I know she's not on here. I didn't see it.
Good evening.
Welcome, Jill.
Thank you. I'm just here to give you guys a department information update from February through April. Just some key notes. We do have a new communication board that will be coming to Eadsville Park. This was the initiative for all of new parks to be able to have communication boards, and since we're getting a new playground at Eadsville Park, the grant fit perfectly with that. It was no cost to the county for this communication board. So in collaboration with us putting the new playground in at Eadsville, starting July 1, this communication board will also be put up there as well.
So just so you all know, because I'm on the advisory committee here, she got talking about this communication board, and I'm thinking, we gotta do another board, for God's sake. Would you explain to them what the communication board is?
That's exactly the question I was getting ready to ask.
Yep.
All right, so a communication board is a
It's
big
a
board.
thing, it's a thing,
Yeah.
it's not people.
Right, exactly, exactly.
So it's a big board that is actually on the playground, so it is for children to be able to communicate who are not able to. So on the communication board, it may have like a swing with the word swing, so they can point and let, whoever is on the playground with them, let them know that's the activity that they would like to do. So it's them being able, it's the kids being able to communicate to either other kids, to the adults, or whoever may be there with them at the playground.
I got you. Okay. Makes
A little
sense.
clearer now, isn't it?
Oh, a lot clearer.
It's not like a commission.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't need volunteers to serve.
Very good.
We have our Wall of Fame is up at our community center, which we showcase our sports leagues who win and our individual champions. So currently we have 3 basketball teams who have won their division, and we have 4 state title champions of wrestlers who are up on our Wall of Fame. So if you're ever at the community center, come down past the fitness room, you can see our Wall of Fame with the photos of the kids and their name, along with why they're up there for the Wall of Fame. Our memorial bench was purchased in honor of Miss Vanessa Maddox, which sits right outside of our community center. We have gotten lots of praise for getting that bench. I want to commend you guys for saying yes for us to be able to purchase that bench for a tribute to her. Miss Vanessa has been a significant impact on Kent County Parks and Rec for over 20 years, and not only just us in the community in general. So again, I want to thank you guys for allowing us to do that for her and put that in memory of her. A lot of the kids come by now, and you'll actually see them sitting on the bench. So it's kind of cute. People are taking pictures. So the family wants to thank you guys, and I want to deeply thank you as well. Our summer 2025 programming events that we have going on, of course, we will do our swim lessons. We have our night swims. We have adult swim lessons. We're going to do a family night swim, a movie night. We have all of our camps going. Our kiddie camps, all of our summer camps. We will do youth fishing derby. We have co-ed sand volleyball currently going on. We had our beach tennis expo. We will have our summer rec club, which is our summer rec club is our 2 weeks prior to the kids going back to school. We actually have a camp for them so that parents have somewhere for their kids to go. We're going to do a Brazilian soccer camp this year. We have a volleyball skills and drills. We have our adult co-ed softball, adult pickleball, adult ping pong, adult platform tennis, and adult drop-in basketball. So those are all of our activities that we have going on for our summer. Some of our programming statistics that I'm pretty proud of. Over the last 3 months, we've had 45 new members get facility access cards. We've had 55 return members who have renewed their access card. We have 32 kids who participated with the sand volleyball this year. We usually have 1 team per division. This year we have 1 younger team and we have 2 older teams. So we're actually getting more kids involved with co-ed volleyball, which is awesome. Our Spring Fest, which is also, we had 288 people who attended our Spring Fest. Unfortunately, the weather was not great for us again this year. This is like the 3rd year in a row. We had to do it inside the community center, but we still had around 288 people who attended. We had our rentals for the month. Community center had 20. Our parks only had 1, and our athletic fields had 2. Our parks, we plan that will increase, of course, throughout the summer months, and it usually does. For our clinics, when we combined them, when we did it with Washington College, which was our field hockey clinic, our soccer clinic, and our basketball clinic, we had over 100 kids who participated within those clinics. So we're pretty proud about that. Our Bertha Beach cleanup, we actually had 43 people who registered and came out and helped us at our Bertha Beach cleanup. And with a free grant through Kent County Tobacco Education, we've been able to certify 63 individuals in first aid and CPR. That's 63 individuals, some are within the county, and then we also offered it out to the public. So we're pretty proud of that. What we have new at the community center, we have the county logo, and the Kent County Parks and Rec logo is displayed now in our lobby. And we have a new rack for our dumbbells in our fitness room. We have noticed an increase in our fitness room with people coming in and using our fitness room, so we're pretty proud about that, getting more people involved in and out to the community center. Projects that we've been working on in collaboration with Department of Public Works is all the ball fields have new signage that's out on each of the ball fields and displayed. I know it's something new for everybody. We talked about it at PRAB meeting last night. I get a lot of grief because, everyone still wants them to be B, C, D, and E. But I said, look, now you have the sign up there. You can see what it's called, so we can get used to the new field names. So it's just something new, but I'm hoping eventually it will click and turn around, and everyone will call them by their designated names. They replaced existing backstops out there, fencing on all the 4 ball fields at Wharton Park, and we also did Toll Park. Orem Field and Heroes Field got new dugouts. The new basketball court is just about finished. It is absolutely beautiful if you've not been out there to see it. We're hoping that we will have it up and ready the first week in June. And during the winter months in our lobby, the Department of Public Works came in and put a new fresh coat of paint on our lobby, so it looks very nice in there now, and we're thrilled for them to be able to come in there and do that. So, as always, I want to express my sincere gratitude to you guys for granting me the opportunity to serve as a director of Parks and Recreation, and I certainly do appreciate all that you do for the community and all that you do for my staff and myself at Parks and Recreation, and I do appreciate it. Anyone have any questions?
Well, we thank you, Jill. I know we speak for all of us when we thank you. Did you want to mention that dog park thing?
Oh, yes.
Just so that people will,
Yep. So during the PRAB meeting last night, yes. So during the PRAB meeting last night, we have a little over $87,000 for funding for POS funding. So they voted last night, the PRAB board voted last night to spend a portion of that money on a dog park at Wharton Park, which I'm very excited about. And then we will also get an additional dugout for Commissioner's Field at Wharton Park, so.
just happens to be, I had nothing to do with that guy.
Just one dugout or 2?
Just one dugout. But it could be 2. I say that, it'll just depend on how much the dog park's gonna cost and then the dugout is gonna cost. If we can get 2, we definitely will get 2 out of it. We'll do the very best we can to spend that money very wisely.
Can you give us an update on our lifeguard situation? Because I think the last time that you were talking to us, you weren't sure we were gonna have enough lifeguards, and you were thinking about going to some company and talk to them about it.
Correct. So in my weekly report that I send to Shelley and out to you guys, I did put in there with the turnaround, the quick turnaround. We didn't feel like it would really be productive for us to go with an outside vendor at this time. So we have been hitting the ground running. Last year we had 22 lifeguards. This year we have 21. So we've come close to meeting it's not ideal what we want. We would like to have like 30 lifeguards, but we will certainly do the best we can with the 21 lifeguards that we have. We will certainly make sure the beach is open and the pools are open as much as we can. And as much as we have a lifeguard to be able to guard a pool or a beach, we will certainly do our very best to have them open. But I'll be honest with you, there may be times that we have to not be able to guard the beach. The beach is probably the one that I take away the first because people can still go to the beach and enjoy it
Right.
without a lifeguard being there. But we will do our very best like we did the previous year to make sure they are open and maintained as much as possible.
Very good.
And Jill, you're collecting payments at the pool differently this year.
Yes, so both of our pools, Millington was always cashless, so our community center pool will be cashless as well this year. So we will,
You saying cashless?
cashless.
Okay, I
Yes,
didn't-
sorry. Yep, cashless, so no we're not taking any cash, so all will be credit card. It'll be a quicker transition for our pool cashiers, so it should be, the line should not be as long, and we should be able to process payment quicker and get everyone into the pool where, that's where they want to be, a lot quicker, and without the line slowly dwindling down, it should go a lot quicker. Easier transactions for us.
And the opening day is?
Saturday.
This Saturday?
This Saturday, yes. Opening
be a
day,
little chilly.
we will be open at 11 a.m., close at 6 p.m. at all pool sites and at our beach as well.
It's gonna be a little chilly
It's going to be a little chilly.
Well, Joe, I know that, you've heard us say this before, but we have a lot of great department heads here in the county, and they do a wonderful job. But truly, Wharton Park and the community center, top notch.
Thank you.
Top notch.
Question about it.
When I'm out there, because my granddaughters are involved in sports, so many people are saying how beautiful the fields look, how well it's maintained, and I know that the grounds people are partner with that as well, but your leadership has really turned Wharton Park into a special place,
Thank you.
and a lot of our parks.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's my vision. I mean, and, I'll mention it, but it happened in May, so I was only focused on February through April. But, the biggest thing was we've now got Made Baseball. We partnered with him. He's renting out our facilities. He's renting out Wharton Park for big tournaments. We had probably over the first weekend in May, we probably had 1,200 people at Wharton Park. Between his baseball tournament that he's having, he rented out every single one of our ball fields. We had beach tennis out there, the international tournament out there that weekend, and we had some lacrosse tournaments. So it was good to my heart to say that I just love to see Wharton Park that busy. And I would like to continue to see it that busy every weekend and during the week if possible.
You keep that vision.
And that, I just want to mention that
was great.
baseball organization is from another county.
Correct.
And comes to this county. I'm not going to mention the other county, but
Yeah.
I do to the commissioner of that.
Yeah, he actually, this weekend, he actually canceled his tournament at another county to come to Kent County.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, so we're excited. Yeah. So we're excited about it.
Did Parks and Rec organize that, those kids going to Camden Yards this past Sunday, or was that done?
We did not, we had a part of it, but a very smart part of it. That was pretty much done through Little League Baseball and Little League Softball. So the presidents, I know softball's under us, but they also have a board. So that was a lot of their board that took care of that. It was a pretty touching moment for the kids.
Yeah, I went over there because I got
Oh,
a granddaughter
awesome.
playing, and actually John's daughter was sitting right,
I saw you on TV.
yeah.
It was on the Kiss Cam.
They just pick out
Me
the
and Robert
handsome
were on the
guys,
kiss
or the
cam.
guys that look funny or something.
Robin got turned away from it too.
Anyhow, that was pretty neat. Those kids, they all lined up. It took a good 2 hours and a half for that parade to end. By the time they walked all the way, what a bunch of, there was a bunch of ball players there. I'm telling you, it was good to see, and it was kind of neat to watch. Didn't help the Orioles win anything.
No,
but,
not that day anyway.
No. Well, thank you very
Thank you,
much.
absolutely.
And keep up the good work.
Thank you. You guys have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Shelley, I guess you're up this time.
Okay, yes, it is my turn, and I have 0 items for action for you this evening. What I do have is 3 report out items. The first of which is 2 agreements have been signed with the Maryland Department of Transportation State Highway Administration for weed control. This will take the weed control through June 30th, 2026. The 2 agreements were respectively in the amounts of $10,500 and $21,300. Next up, again, Maryland Department of Transportation. This is acknowledging the receipt of our MDOT priority letter that was sent back in April. So the Secretary of Transportation is acknowledging the letter and got in some information about the upcoming agendas. And finally, I am pleased, I guess, to announce that there is no aerial treatment for spongy moth this spring in Kent County. This is formerly known as the gypsy moth, and the reason for that is because when they did their population count, they don't see a need to do any treatment. But stay tuned, and they will continue to monitor the situation and see if we need to treat next year.
Very good.
I want to say one other thing, too. I had another commissioner call me yesterday or day before. He's a contractor, and he actually had to bring some equipment down to Rock Hall. And he called me, and he said, Albert, I haven't been down to Rock Hall in 20 years. He said, man, it is pretty going down from Chestertown to Rock Hall.
Nice.
I said, well, welcome, now leave. He did remark, he said he said, I forgot how pretty it was down there.
It would have been from Caroline County.
He would have been from Caroline County.
Before we take public comment, I got a question of our attorney. And this is really, this bothers me, and I just want to hear what you think about it as an attorney. I'm not going to mention anybody's name, but somebody bought a piece of property, had a house on it, and had another vacant lot. And along with the vacant lot, there was what come with that vacant lot was that it wasn't just a vacant lot, it had a plat with an approved perk test with the planning director's signature back in Gail Owens' time.
Right.
And the health officer's signature. Now when you buy a vacant lot versus without a perk test, or one with a perk test, you could be talking about $5,000 to $10,000 for a lot without a perk test. They won't get a perk test.
Correct.
Because it's just, you can't do nothing.
Correct.
To
$50,000.
or to 100, depending on its
Correct.
location, or $250,000 if it's on
Correct.
the waterfront, it depends.
Yes.
But there's a tremendous difference.
Yes.
And when this individual bought this property, he paid probably a little more, obviously more for it because he had approved perk test.
He relied on the plat.
Yep.
Which is a document, a government document, because it's been signed off and approved.
Signed and sealed and delivered.
Right, matter of public record.
He goes to use it, and because the health department doesn't have their copy, they won't honor his
But that doesn't change, the fact that the health department may have lost their copy doesn't change the fact that these approvals were given.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
That's
Now-
my opinion. The approvals were given. You could lose a copy, but that doesn't change the fact that approvals were given. We could have a meeting and you could vote on something, and the minutes could be lost, or there could be a computer malfunction. That doesn't change the fact that you approved something at your meeting.
And then I come in here and I read a report that the health department just went through an audit.
Yes.
And MDE give them a scathing report.
I read that as well.
Where 60% of the properties they claim shouldn't have been, if I understood it right, like 60% should not have been approved.
That was my read of it as well.
But this is, that sign says Kent County Health Department. So we're the ones people think have the control over that thing. going back to my original question, I don't personally think, and I'm not an attorney, but that's why I asked your opinion, but I don't think there's a judge in the world that wouldn't uphold that. Especially when this person bought it and paying the money thinking that it was an
Right.
approved perk test.
Well, the person that bought it has a legitimate argument that they relied on these approvals on a public document. I can't speak for a judge. It's my opinion that what is controlling is whether or not the approval was given, not whether or not an agency lost their copy of the approval. If the approval was given, it's still good, regardless of whether or not an
It's not
agency
good,
lost
though.
their.
It's not good if the health department won't honor it.
But if you have a plat, and the plat is signed, and nobody's saying there's a forgery on the plat, right? It would be one thing if you had a plat, and there was an allegation
Everybody
made-
agrees
Right.
that it's an official plat with official signage and everything.
Then my opinion is, if somebody can produce that plat, it really doesn't matter if the health department inadvertently lost it or threw it out or whatever, it's still valid. It's a plat that was signed off on, the approvals were
My
given.
question to you, though, is if the health department says we're not going to honor that, what do you do about it? Take
That
it to
would be,
court?
the landowner would need to file something in court challenging the health department.
Well, I'm
I think
just here to tell you that that's
Yeah.
what's that's happening, and that's not the only case, but that's the case I'm very familiar with. And, you know, my job is to represent the people of Kent County, and I take exception to that taking place. And by the way, we're getting ready to spend $1.1 million paying their share of the money we owe the health department. They haven't had a sanitarian since 2023. That scathing report that I just read, I don't know what you do about that. I'm just very disappointed in what's going on at the health department. But I don't know what to do. I don't know if there's I guess we can't do anything about it, but what rights do we have as far as the governing of a facility like that?
Well, you do.
Because I'm going to tell somebody
You do
how.
provide some funding.
Listen, I'm going to tell
You
somebody
provide
how I
funding.
feel
For $1
about
million.
it, but I've tried to
It's
do
an
it on the
accountability
phone,
issue.
but they won't answer my call. But
Right. I mean, you do provide funding
from the
for it.
state level, I'm going to call somebody from MDE and tell them, but I mean, that report showed,
Yeah, I mean,
That's terrible.
what I don't understand is, to me, what counts, again, is the fact that those approvals were granted. And also beyond that is a plat exists that documents those approvals. What difference does it make if the homeowner is holding the plat or if the health department is holding the plat? The fact is, there is a plat that has those approvals, and it appears that there is no disagreement that those approvals weren't given. So my opinion is that even if the health department lost the plat, that those approvals are still valid.
I guess my only comment, I mean, I'm not arguing with anybody, but I would imagine that there are people out there that, and I'm not, you said they're not disputing this.
no,
but-
nobody's disputing it.
But there would be people out there who would try to forge and/or make a fraudulent plat.
Correct.
Which wouldn't be too difficult to do if you have a computer.
Correct,
but
but that's
I'm
not the
not
case
saying that
here.
that's
That's not
happening.
the
No, no,
case.
no, no.
If there's
I'm just
reason
saying
to
that-
believe, if there's reason to believe there's if there's reason to believe that this has been
But
altered
at the
or
end
there's a
of the day-
forgery, that's a legitimate concern.
But at the end of the day, like you said, Ronnie, and I honestly have been learning, and still am, I think, and I don't feel too bad because I think you're still learning too, what exactly we have to do with the
Yeah,
health
I
department.
mean, I don't know, but
But-
that individual, I mean, he can't just go this was a place where he's gonna put another house.
Correct, he saw, I'm assuming, when he purchased the land, that he saw the plat, he relied on those approvals, which a reasonable person would rely on those approvals.
I can tell you what, I know how I would feel if I'd paid good money
Correct.
for a lot with an approved plat on it,
Correct.
And then they tell me I can't build on it. I'd want somebody to pay what money I paid for that lot,
Correct.
at a minimum.
Correct. I mean, there's a difference between having a plat that nobody disputes the validity of it, or nobody disputes the approvals, and one where it's suspect, where.
That issue with Herman Hill, there's another one.
Right.
He had the plats.
Right.
I took the plats and showed them to Dan Matson, and they wouldn't honor them because they lost theirs. And that's what this whole
I took it to them.
issue was about, they'll
But
tell you
that's
that
their-
all this material was missing at the health department.
Right, but
Somebody
that's their
come up
problem.
with it.
I mean, the landowner shouldn't be penalized because of an internal problem at the health department.
That's my thought, exactly.
Where is, I mean, I guess over
It's up on a hill right before you get to where this big solar array is going.
in town here.
Yeah.
Okay, because I was gonna say, like in Chesapeake Landing, you have to have 2 lots to build. That's the only reason
Correct.
I was
No, I know.
even
No,
asking.
this-
Yeah,
Okay.
that's because of the
This
size
is
of
up-
the lots.
Correct,
Yeah.
that's the only reason I was asking.
This is that house up on a hill,
Gotcha.
just before you get to that big solar
Gotcha.
array that they're
Gotcha.
supposed
Yeah.
to put out there.
Gotcha.
All I can give is my opinion. I'm not the judge, but that's
It
what my
sounds like the
opinion
only way
is.
it's gonna get resolved is it's gonna have to go to court.
Right.
And then,
You'd have to get a declaratory judgment where you would have a judge declare that these approvals were given and that this plat is valid.
and when they go to court, I hope they try to recoup their legal fees.
I
That's
just,
part of it also.
Well, generally, legal fees typically aren't recoverable under the law. There generally has to be a statute that says that legal fees can be allocated, or you have a contract that says the non-prevailing party pays the prevailing party's attorney's fees, or it has to be an unjustified proceeding. Either the defense is not legally justified or the action isn't, and that's a tough standard to meet. You rarely see legal fees being awarded. So my belief is it's probably going to be unlikely, unless there's a statute someplace, which I don't think there is, for the homeowner to recover legal fees. But, I mean, I've offered my opinion. I believe
I
that the.
respect your-
that's all I
The owner
ask,
would
but
have a strong
I feel
case.
bad as somebody
Right.
that's supposed to be sitting here at this table representing the people of Kent County, and this kind of stuff taking place, and there's nothing we can do about it.
Right, well, if it came to you and it was one of your documents under these circumstances, I would advise you to honor the approvals. That would be my advice to you.
Maybe we could do this. I don't know who the Attorney General is assigned to the county.
It would be the Attorney General probably for MDE.
For MDE.
For MDE. All right. I would suggest that maybe we write them a letter asking them for an opinion. If we have a validated plat where they had a perk test, which was previously, signed off on, what is the validity of that current plat? Or perk test, or whatever the case may be.
I
mean,
don't know if they
and
will
then if-
opine on that or not, but,
You don't
The
know.
health
We could
They
ask.
may be
department-
reluctant if they support the position of the health department.
right.
Well, and that, well, at least you have something in writing, but you never know. They might say, I hadn't really thought about this.
Do we have, Commissioner Fithian mentioned that our former planning and zoning director may have signed off and approved on that. Do we have a copy of that plat in any records?
I
don't want to put
don't know.
Mr. Mackey on the spot. Do we have a copy of that plat in any of our records?
All the plats in Maryland are on plats.net. It's a recorded
We
plat.
should also have the copy, the signed copy.
So-
The original signed copy of our file.
So if we have that, that would eliminate any notion whatsoever that there's a forgery or something that's not valid out there. If we have a
Carl,
record that's been kept in the ordinary course of business since the time that plat was signed off on.
Carla,
Yes.
this is the property, you know where I'm talking about. Tommy Tucker owns it. I'm gonna mention his name and he don't care. But he's the one that bought that property. It's got a home on it, and it's also had another lot, and his idea was one of his daughters was gonna have, and he's gonna build himself a, now he goes to use it. Gail signed off on it, goes back to her time here. And I forget who the environmental health officer is. I'd probably Beskett, John
Oh, no,
Beskett.
no, that-
Before, Burkmeyer. I bet
Burkmeyer's
you.
probably Ed Burkmeyer.
Ed Burkmeyer. They're both signatures, it's got a stamp on, a seal on it, it's about as original as you can get. But they say no, they're not gonna let him do it.
And both Mrs. Owings and Ed Burkmeyer are both local and are available. They could attest to that plat.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think
Would you
that would
look
be
for me
necessary, but they could.
tomorrow in the office and see if you can find it? I can get you his copy, because I've told him, I said, don't you let nothing happen to it, because I might want it. But it would be good if you had yours.
Yeah, I mean, that's a strong piece of evidence that we have something in our custody that's been maintained in the ordinary course of business for all these years. I mean, that goes to its authenticity.
And I could go into why I think we're having this problem, but I'll just keep that to myself. But anyhow, thank you for letting me get on the soapbox, but I don't like to see that kind of stuff happen. Especially when we're getting ready to write a check out for $1.1 million and we had, like I said, we hadn't had that sanitarium since I sent them the name of a guy that called me as a real sanitarian. Wanted to talk to him about a job. They had never called him back. It's the damnedest I ever seen, but anyhow, time for public comment, and we don't have any public in here, just employees.
I do have a real quick comment to make,
Okay.
very positive one. The grounds of the courthouse look really nice. The crews did some fresh mulching down there, and it really looks sharp. So I just wanted to pass that on to the commissioners, that when I was walking by the courthouse earlier today, it caught my attention right away, and the crew out there did a nice job.
Yeah.
So the crews have been out and about, in particular because Tea Party's right around the corner. So for those properties in town, they also did our front lawn here. I agree, it looks tremendous.
Very good. The only problem that I got a call today from the Tea Party chairman, that there's two planters they put out there, great big, 1,000-pound apiece when they're full. The planters were 800-pound apiece. Then they put dirt and flowers and whatever's planted. I haven't seen them. They figure it's about 1,000-pound apiece. And evidently, right where they put them, whoever's in charge of some kids' programs during Tea Party Festival, they're in the way.
Oh, dear.
Well, I think the judge told them they're just gonna have to be in the way, 'cause they ain't going.
That's where he told me to put them. I carried them in there.
So, I'm sure they'll get it worked out, but no good deed goes undone.
No, indeed.
All right, then if, no questions from anybody in the audience, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
No, wait, not yet.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry,
you wanna go
that's
into
right.
closed session?
I got so wound up, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
We gotta
Now,
go
I can
into
make a motion to
executive.
adjourn, we can do that.
I don't think we'll be long here from what I've read.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session under the annotated code of Maryland, general provisions, Article 3-305B1, to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom this public body has jurisdiction, or any other personnel matter that affects one or more specific individuals, to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice, and to consult with staff, consultants, or other individuals about pending or potential litigation. And there are two matters that we plan to discuss during the closed session. The first topic that we plan to discuss is the legal opinion of the county attorney concerning potential or pending or potential litigation matters, and to consult with staff regarding the matter. The second topic that we plan to discuss is employment recommendations for a commission.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, the ayes have it.